Dr. Hurtado explained the term early high Christology and what this means as applied to his own writings. According to Hurtado, who is an advocate for an early high Christology, devotion to Jesus as God originated with early Jewish Christianity, and did not emerge later, nor through influence from pagan religions and Gentile converts. Dr. Hurtado has stated that we see suddenly, during the first years of Christianity, a distinct model of devotion to Jesus, which is evident from early books of the New Testament. The argument. Larry W. Hurtado's central argument is that the devotion to Jesus, in conjunction with a single God in the Old Testament, did not just emerge unexpectedly early, it emerged as a binitarian mutation of Jewish monotheism from the Second Temple in Jewish Christian circles. Larry Hurtado's argument is that positioning Jesus beside Israel's God as co-recipients of a constellation of binitarian devotional practices about Israelite God represents an important mutation of Second Temple Jewish monotheism. If the decision has been made not to exclude any interpretation which is non-naturalistic, I agree with Larry Hurtado that it is the resurrection itself of Jesus, together with post-resurrection manifestations, which provides the best hypotheses of the emergence of Christology. What needs to be asked is what has better explanatory power for the birth of an early, and also a very high, Christology within a very short period after the resurrection of Jesus. I have written elsewhere too that I am skeptical a dead, crucified Messiah will not jumpstart an early Christology. Otherwise, I think that we should say something remarkable and groundbreaking happened with the Jesus movement. The early High Christology Club, comprising Martin Hengel, Larry Hurtado, and Wright and Richard Bauckham, that this incarnational Christology, or High Christology, did not develop over long periods, but was the big bang of ideas which were already there in the beginnings of Christianity, taking additional form during the early decades of Christianity, as witnessed by Paul's writings. The other early Christology was High Christology, which was the view that Christ was a pre-existent divine being who became a human being, did the Father's will on earth, and was then taken back up into heaven. Proposals about Christian origins also need to pay due attention to the High Christology which, as shown in such sources, was already developed at the time of the emergence of such sources. While early Christian communities' devotion to Jesus is related to disciples' experiences of Jesus prior to the resurrection, no doubt, Larry Hurtado's comments on Jesus' messianic works through his resurrection surely give credibility to the idea that Jesus was worthy of their worship and devotion. I am mistaken in suggesting that Larry Hurtado is using his concept of worship of the sect to attempt to cram Christ into one sacred being alongside YHWH. For example, Larry Hurtado points to the fact that 1 Corinthians 8-10 compares the worship of idols/demons with a believer's relationship with Christ, example, not testing Christ, not making the Lord, Jesus, jealous. Larry W. Hurtado manages to demonstrate the fruits of an inductive approach, explains why we should not expect the Christological ode to have poetic meters. Early Christians imitated the style of the biblical Psalms, 84-85, shows how the existence of the Christological ode and Paul's failure to explain it both reflect that it was already known and affirmed. James D. E. G. Dunn believes the Hellenists filled in the gaps between Jesus' own discourse about his death and early Christian confessions about this death as a redemptive sacrifice. Michael Koch is also concerned about the danger that we portray ancient Christianity as monolithic by suggesting a godly Christology is a definitive characteristic of all associations with Jesus the Lord, and notes the thematic diversity that we have in NT texts with respect to their Christological focus.